9-year-old singing Golden in the background. Ladies, let's bring on these videos. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hey, ladies. How you doing?
Hi.
Hello.
All right, so how long have y'all been on? Before we start and be all formal, how long have y'all been on? What did you catch? What gems from today? Are you guys just logging on? I know some of y'all, powdered up because you started early with us.
I was on early this morning. Had to get dressed. Thought I was going to be on for a second with Jen doing yoga. So I've been in and out throughout the day, picking up gems. So happy that I made it a priority. There's so much insight and wisdom within the group of these women that we call Newarkers. So powerful.
Indeed. How about everybody else?
One more. I have my lip gloss right there. It's like a tall pink one. Can you bring it to me, please?
Right.
Oh, I thought
It's all good. Girl talk, so it's all good.
All good.
So I wasn't able to join earlier, but I cannot wait for the recordings and for the replays. I saw a lot of people, posting about all the great things that were happening. So I can't wait to catch that replay.
Good. Yeah, and I see comments. The short answer is yes, we're recording. We're going to make these individual sessions available and push them out. There's a lot of gems dropped today, and the pun intended around gems, since we just ended the womb wellness with our yoni eggs and quartz and opal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so happy to have you all on, and honored to be able to moderate and facilitate the conversation. I do like that we all look a little bit more relaxed. It is towards the end of the day, but I think some of the thinking from all the amazing women that helped pull this event together for Girls Talk was to really just have some honest, kind of direct conversations about how we're kind of coming into this new normal, right? Which is, by the way, not normal. And it's a quick sidebar, and I hate to start this way, but I love elected official Jumaane Williams, New York City public advocate. He posted something yesterday about he's not okay. And the video was really powerful, and it hasn't come up yet today, and I'm sure it will in different ways, just about really what we've been dealing with as a community, and these ups and downs, and how many times we're frequently confronted with the horror behind police brutality. But the reason why it's front of mind for me is because him saying he's not okay. And as we're trying to think about new normal and how we kind of, get used to what we're confronting, I think the first thing is probably for us all to just start with allowing ourselves to say we're not okay when we're not okay. So I guess my first question that I'll push out is just on really finding balance and some of the key things that have changed for you personally since this pandemic. So I won't be overly formal and pick on people unless y'all decide not to jump in, and then I'm gonna start picking on people.
I think one of the things for me is just really trying to find a good balance between work, taking care of all of my responsibilities here in the house as a wife and a mother, and then being a partner. That has been like one of the really big things for me.
Yeah, agreed. That balance. I think it came up on earlier panels too.
Yeah. I'll add to that. This is Jaren Kenny. First, thank you for having me on here. It's certainly a pleasure. And I think it's just important that we have honest conversations. That's why I'm glad there's so many different people on here, different women, different, with different lives and lifestyles and realities. And so for me, I absolutely have not found balance, nor tried to find balance, because it's not, to me, not possible right now. So I'm on leave at work. And I'll give some background on that. I like work. I work for a corporation called LinkedIn. It's owned by Microsoft. And, there's lots of ideas and opinions about, working for a big company versus being an entrepreneur, et cetera. But for one, I like it a lot. And I feel valued there for everything that I bring to the table. And I feel 100% safe to be my authentic self, including accepting the offer for emergency family leave. And so often we, particularly as Black women, feel like we got to be Sealy, you know what I mean, carrying the brunt of the whole world on our backs. And it is not safe, natural, not healthy to do that. So I have shifted balance by prioritizing my children, my family, the people who live in this household, because what I don't want is for there to be adverse impact over the long haul because of this time. So I'm at home homeschooling, and it's hard. God bless the teachers out there. We need y'all. It's really hard. Elijah just turned 3. Y'all know Yasmin's 5.5. But doing that and being good to myself, being forgiving, and tuning into what I need, like taking a bubble bath at 11 in the morning if I need to do that, even though I just did whatever, and being okay with it. So that's what's helping right now, and not being everything either, because Tariq is a chef at night. I make breakfast and lunch, and he cooks every night. If we eat, it's because he cooks. So I think being okay with that is what's helped for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And I love that too. I love that you said that because, we talked about that on our podcast. My line sister and I, we have a podcast called "Cause I Said So," and one of the episodes we talked about was about balance. And I personally reject the whole idea of balance and having to find balance and seek balance, because I feel like nobody ever asked men, how are you balancing, your work and life? Like, how does that go? Like, nobody's asking them that. And I recently read an article, I can't remember where it was. I think it was like on Forbes or something, where, the mom, she had a startup. It was like a tech startup. And so like similar story to like you, Jaren, where, she ended up taking family leave because she was trying to do the work from home thing. And her husband after day 3 was like, I can't do this. And
It's hard.
It's super hard. But like, I literally said, like, her husband needs to be returned to sender. Like take him back. Like, you need to renegotiate like the terms of your marriage here, because
Keep him, just renegotiate.
right, renegotiate, because it's supposed to be a partnership, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're supposed to help each other at the root of it all, and you do whatever works for your family.
Yeah.
So that's why I love what you said in terms of like Tariq helps with the cooking and whatnot. Like, I don't do any cleaning at home because I'm the cook, and my husband says that I don't have to do any of the cleaning, and that works for us. It may not work for everybody's household, but that works for us. And with the schooling, like, we have different schedules. My schedule is a lot more flexible. So from like 8 to 10, I'll be up with our 3-year-old doing schoolwork with her. And then like from 10 to 3, we kind of go back and forth in between meetings. And then after 3 o'clock, either one of us takes her outside. If he's working a little later, I'll take her outside. And then whatever I didn't do during the day, I find time to do it afterwards. You guys know I'm doing like a million things, so I'm always up late.
Got it. So for me, I just wanted to I feel like every day I'm trying to find balance. So I do not have a clear answer on what that looks like. Every day is different. Many of you know I am the councilwoman. I have a full-time job as well, and I have a 4-year-old now who is trying to learn, even after all of these weeks, how to use Zoom for class when they're being with their friends to play. And so every day is different. Literally before I was logging on to put my lip gloss on for this session, she was leaving out with her dad to go take a break, because I kept saying, today at 4 o'clock, I just need a break. Like, you got to take her and you guys go do whatever you're going to do.
This is your break? So
Yes,
this is your break.
Exactly.
This is my break. So all day, all day, it's just like, you're just trying to we're trying to work it out. Our schedule always gets changed no matter how much I say, we're going to do this at 8, this at 9, this at 10. I'm sure you, just like you ladies, it changes every hour on the hour. So every day I'm finding something new that I do. Today I cooked her a really good lunch. Some days it's peanut butter and jelly, and it's just every day I just find myself doing something different, finding new balance on that. So that's the true answer.
Councilwoman, I'm so glad you brought that up because we've been talking about 4 o'clock for weeks. This is my 4 o'clock right here, guys.
Aw. I love it. And you timed that very well, Linda.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. It's just that prioritizing my children. I don't have a partner, so I think single parenting has taken a whole new perspective for me. But I have a luxury. I'm also co-parenting with joint custody, and I have a luxury of saying on some days I don't have the kids, right? And I can turn off the mom hat and just have some self-care for myself, which when you're single parenting without a partner or joint custody, or single parenting or just being a mom at home all the time, you don't have that luxury of saying, here's my time out, here's my break, and let me explore some time for myself. We just don't have that luxury all the time. But yeah, I have been able to be present, I think, for my daughter's sanity, for my sanity, is to be more present for them and to make sure they still get to be a child. Is finding abandoned parking lots for them to scooter outside, even though we're not supposed to, be in parks, but to find something to make sure that they still keep their childhood during this process.
Yeah, so you all mentioned kind of scheduling in different ways, right? Having your own time, Tanisha, you mentioned kind of setting a schedule. Jaren, you did too. LaMonica, you're like, the schedule just doesn't always work. And so, I see some questions in the chat, and I think that's what people try to get at, like, what is the quote unquote balance? Sometimes it's as literal and deliberate as I'm going to do this, and this. Then the reality comes in, especially with all these new pressures. I thought I worked ridiculously hard before. People tell me all the time, it's so hard to get on my calendar. That's not a badge of honor at all. And now my schedule somehow is far worse than it was. So I'm wondering, like, how much has this pandemic really added to your plate, and what are actually some specific things that you've tried to do to accommodate? So for me, I'll kick it off. For me, I do about 4 things every day. I wake up in the morning, I pray and I meditate every single day. At some point during the day, unfortunately, sometimes I'm usually taking calls, but I go out for a walk, 45 minutes or an hour with my daughter. The third thing I do every day is we're a Jeopardy family. So I watch Jeopardy with my middle son every day. And he's increasingly smarter than I am. So maybe I'm gonna have to watch the episodes first and then watch it. And I always carve out time with my youngest, the 9-year-old. Full transparency, sometimes my husband falls off. And I mean, off of my priority list, right? So I've recognized during this time period, the demands on my schedule, something has to miss out. It can't be work, not now for obvious reasons. And it can't be the family as a whole. So sometimes that does end up being him, unfortunately. Fortunately, he's also extremely patient and loving and all that. But I'm wondering for you guys, what has changed specifically during the pandemic, and how have you tried to more deliberately, directly find some balance?
Oh, I guess I'll go. I guess for me, a lot has changed, right? In my work as a councilwoman, it's hard because everything that we did before, all of the things that we had going on in our city, those things have taken a lot of pause to. I'm more so of a leader that likes to be among the people. We like having meetings, we like having parties, we like celebrating all the time here in the city. And so I'm unable to do that. But at the same time, I need to be in the midst of the people. And so, every day you're trying to go out, and then I'm trying to balance that with the kid, where I'm going to take the kid today, who's going to watch. I mean, there's no childcare. And I keep saying that all the time about how, we have limited places. My mom is like the only one who can like watch. And she's like, hey, you going out again today? I'm like, yeah, mom, and so every day it just, every day it just looks different, to be honest with you. I guess because it's the work that I'm in, every day is just not as scheduled. Every day I'm not able to, wake up and make a full course breakfast. Some days it's better. Some days I'm able to cook a big meal. Some days I'm not. I think for me, through all of this, I'm trying to find balance for myself on how do I still do for myself? Like, how do I take the time to still do things for myself in this limited time? Before, when we had the luxury of things being open, my time was going to get my nails done or going to get my hair done. It's like, whoa, finally a break for myself. I counted those things as things for myself, right? And now we can't do that. So it's like, what do I do now for myself? And I think every day I'm trying to do that, but then it's like every day I don't even have time to think about that, right? So I can't, wake up and meditate because I'm like waking up running, like grabbing the toddler, getting something to eat real quick, and we're rushing out. So I think that's, for me, what I'm trying to do is just every day find some time for myself to try to build myself in this limited restrictions that we have now. My girlfriends, they started like a walking club the other day, and every day they hit me at 5 o'clock. They're like, hey, you're coming? I'm like, yeah, not today. Like, I just got in. We were like over here in this community, we just got done feeding at 4:30. It's not going to happen today. And I feel bad because for 2 weeks I've been saying that, and I only went once so far. So it's just trying to find balance for myself, I think, at this time with all of the other responsibilities, that I have going on.
Yeah. So I guess I'll jump in. I work on the state level. It varies in terms of like deliverables and when things are due and whatnot. And so if I have a training that's coming up that's pressing, or like just this Tuesday, I had to do a training that was a live virtual training. So like I was totally in prep mode for that. We meet and have meetings with all of the child care centers, the school-age child care centers, every couple of days. So every Monday and every Thursday. So that's twice a week. Like, we're meeting with them, and it's not. I made that face saying because it happens so frequently, but I know that it needs to happen. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm making that face because it's a tedious thing. But in between those things, so when there are lulls, I make sure that I make time to do things with my daughter that are like we bought her a plastic bowling set. And so we bowl in the house because we're a bowling family, and we used to go out and go bowl. And so that's something that she's not getting a chance to do. We make it a priority to make sure, as long as the weather is nice, that she's going outside every single day. And for myself, some things that I have been doing personally, my husband has given me like carte blanche to say, if I'm overwhelmed and I just need to go on a drive, then just go on a drive. There's a lot of things that, we're being hit with on a daily basis, and like working in education. I mean, like all of you have important positions. And so a lot of that can kind of weigh you down. And my boss has given us the ability to say, hey, I need to take a day. So as long as you get done what you get done and all of your deliverables are met, then we're given that freedom to be able to check out when we need to. And to be honest, I don't know where I would be mentally if I was not given that freedom to be able to say, all right, I've worked, almost a 10-hour day. I'm going to cut off, the laptop, and then I'm not going to work a full day tomorrow. I'm going to take a half a day tomorrow, or I'm going to take a full day tomorrow because I'm given that freedom. And I think as Black women, we don't allow ourselves to take those liberties or to take those freedoms as often as we should. And I think that contributes to a lot of the health issues, that we face as a community and our stress levels.
You're here. Jaren, you were going to jump in.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's interesting because I kind of struggled with like, okay, how open and honest are we going to be? I know this is being recorded, but what I'll just say is that, I'm from Mississippi originally, and I was raised in a Christian household. And I say that as for background because I'm significantly different than I was 40 years ago and even 10 years ago when I first moved to Newark. But I say that because I believe that you're supposed to, prioritize your family and all of that. So I'm trying to get to it in a roundabout way.
You're beating around the bush, Jaren. You're beating around the bush. I'm gonna call you
Really
out.
am. I feel like I'm dancing. So let me just say this. It's interesting because I have been very intentional about since I'm on leave, I'm blessed to be compensated fully and able to be at home and be present, which is awesome. And so the children get my attention because I'm homeschooling all day long. But I've also tried to keep priority on my husband. And it's interesting because this time has heightened kind of our understanding or our awareness of our expectations, whether we verbalize them or not. It's interesting, I'm learning more and more, which is one of the, if there's a silver lining in this, I'm learning more about him. And it's interesting because he doesn't want my attention on him at all. I think I'm evaluated by the attention and care I put into our children, which is so very interesting because obviously I love those babies and so does he. But I'm a believer in that they're gonna be okay. Like they don't even want to eat half the time. So like if they eat an hour later than they did yesterday, or if they eat a sandwich today versus like steak, like they're gonna be okay and they're probably gonna be happy. But so it's just interesting kind of to see how things are shifting and trying to be mindful about it the entire way. I will say that what slipped is certainly my work, but that's with my permission. I've been intentional and kind of shifted priority from there with the confidence that it'll be just fine when I get back. And I recognize everybody's reality is different and job security, so I never take that for granted. But I do trust that will be just fine. I'll also say my waistline and self-care. Like this COVID, Tariq called today, COVID-19 pounds. Or you've seen like a hashtag like quarantine 15. Yo, like it's blowing my mind. I'm at my highest non-pregnant weight ever in life. And it's it's okay. On one hand, it's okay. On the other hand, it's so not. But I try to go back to that, like being okay with like, just letting things be okay right now. And not being too hard on ourselves. Like we've started line dance. The children and I line dance. We do every line dance you can think of. We do it in the driveway for exercise. And I got a trampoline, so we do that stuff together. So it's good. But it is not possible. Like skills are not meant. You can't balance everything at the same time. And I'm becoming more and more okay with the fact that some things are going to slip sometimes, and just try to tune in to who needs what the most and when, and kind of take it from there.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Tamara, Linda?
Well, for me, it's great. My work stuff hasn't changed much in terms of I've been an entrepreneur for 21 years. I'm working from home. I basically had my kids at home till they were ready for school. So like being a homebody hasn't changed much for me. My level of stress is off the chain. My business of 21 years is also basically on hold till 2021. I deal with restaurants and events and small businesses, and all of that has taken a hit. So for me to navigate my level of stress is self-care. I work out every day. I make sure, so I might be a minority in this thing, but I'm leaving COVID in my fittest life.
We saw the pictures. You look fantastic. Like, are those cuts? Did she have cuts on her ass?
Are those real?
Awesome. 2 decades ago. So like I've reclaimed that aspect of working out, eating healthy, but also just surrounding myself with things that spark joy. And truly for me personally, it's like creating art with the girls or working with power tools and doing stuff around the house. Those things bring me joy. And so to kind of counterbalance the stress levels of not having a job or income coming in, is to make sure I'm surrounded by things that make me happy.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I think it's it's also just a reminder, and sometimes I personally feel selfish when I complain or bemoan something, because look, we're all still really privileged, right? Like we have a lot of access. I could walk away from somebody and go to the backyard or go to another room. I still have the, fortunately have um, uh, I still have income coming in, and two parents in the household that have income coming in, right? And so and I know we all likely struggle with this, or some of the attendees do, where you don't want to complain, and everybody's realities have changed dramatically, some significantly worse than others. And we had panels earlier, people really talking about, loss and how much their lives were impacted. And so never to compare, but in comparison, our struggles and our challenges seem so minor. And then yet, because they're happening to us, it still, of course, feels so real and so personal. And you're like, yeah, but I still got to figure out how to homeschool my child, or how to take this call without people walking by, or whatever, how to just deal with the everyday stresses and balances. So Linda, I'm just putting you on the spot a little bit now, because your view is, we obviously all hear the mayor and respect him tremendously, and know how much that support is needed. So we're all dealing with that in different ways, and wondering, like, for you, what does that look like, or how do you deal with perspective?
I think it's important in terms of the mayor being who he is and wanting to be out and be there for our community the way he does. He's not just, I'm going to stay home and wait till this is over type of mayor, right? He's out there. So for me, it's important for him to have a safe space here, kind of reduce his stress as much as possible, try to take on a little bit more than I would normally, because we are in these times. My boss is watching, so I'm not going to talk about work, but sometimes some things have to be prioritized, and I'm so grateful that she is so flexible and that I can do that work at 10 o'clock at night and not have to be on a 9 to 5 schedule. So for me, it's really on a day-to-day basis. Drew is only 7 months old, so if he wants to come get on this computer right now, he's going to be here. In fact, he's going to be here at 5 o'clock because his father has to do a live. And so I just have to kind of roll with those punches.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, and I've gotten emails, and several of us have communicated in the middle of the night, and it's half funny and it's half sad, right? Like really, we just squeeze it in. However, so I guess I'm wondering, how you all are finding ways to unplug. So one of the comments that came up with something along the lines of, parenting can't be scheduled, and by no means are we suggesting that, right? But how do you actually find ways literally to unplug? For me personally, it's been harder, and the lines have been a lot more grayed over the last few months.
I'll go first. Looks like Tanisha was trying. I'm okay with turning off. So this has worked for me and against me. I believe in there being times where everything is turned off. I have a girlfriend who keeps her cell phone on her pillow, and she might be listening. And I said, one, I don't think you should do that, because she's like, well, what if someone needs me? I said, well, if they need you and it's the middle of the night, then there's probably not much that you can do. My thought is they either need to call 911 or call on the Lord, because calling me in the middle of the night isn't gonna help at all. All it's doing is stressing me out, you know what I mean? And so it's okay. And there's also now technology that will allow you for your favorites, if they call 3 times in a row, it's an actual emergency, they can get to you. But being very much okay. I used to be so type A, and just everything was urgent, and just using this time now to understand that we are safe at home. And there's no choice in that right now. And so we can choose what to do with that time. And I've made some good decisions and some that are not so great, like eating nonstop. But some of the good ones are doing the things that I always wanted to do or meant to do, or thought that, gosh, if I had more time, I would do that. So I unplug and I read books now. I'm doing work with our First Lady and the Newark Public Library, and Dr. Wells there, and just something that I always wanted to do. And even like reading novels. I've never read novels like unless it was an assignment in school. It's always like motivational or self-help or this or how to. And, you know, I spent a lot of time building myself, particularly like on professional stuff. And so right now it feels good to unplug and read a book that I just enjoy or explore a topic. I did my African ancestry, which is amazing. Check my Fulani earrings, y'all. There's a whole story behind it, but like all the things that, gosh, if I had more time, I would do those things. So that's how I'm unplugging and just being okay with it.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Tamara, how are you finding ways to unplug?
Again, I mentioned I had the luxury of having kid-free time.
Right.
So I really take advantage of those opportunities. I feel like this has also been an opportunity to, you know, be resourceful. And so things that I would typically go to the store and purchase, I'm now Googling to see, oh, that body scrub is done. Let me see how I can make a sugar scrub right at home. Or the yogurt is almost done, but I don't see a use for it. What recipe can I add? These are things that I would typically just throw out because it got old and moldy. And now I'm just trying to be more resourceful and thinking of things outside of the box that I normally, didn't think about before. And again, isn't this what the essence of how we were supposed to be living before we had, the craziness of our lives? I mean, all too often we ask for a pause button, and we were really given a pause in a sense. We still have a lot more stress and other things to manage, but yeah, all those things that we said, yeah, that day, I'm a big person on Pinterest. All those recipes that are pinned for 10 years, they're finally getting some play in the kitchen.
Nice.
Nice. We're going to have to get some shipments over there. Councilwoman, I feel like you're going to just be like, I have not unplugged. I've told y'all I have not unplugged.
I was actually going to say like, oh, this question is like not for me, but
oh, no, it is.
I guess I can say like, even though the Lord is still working on me and learning how to unplug and take time for myself or just, do something else, I think since this has happened, and even before this, TV was like always my kind of unplug escape for me. Like even before with a busy schedule out all day, I used to come home and have to watch something. And like now I see people online like posting all of these series and they're watching this show and so forth. So I've been like tuned into some things that come on like, hey, let me watch this. Let me see what's going on. And this time I'm able to like finish something, like I'm able to watch it through. And so I've done that. And I've also been cooking. Some people who know me, who follow me on Instagram, I know I speak to First Lady about it all the time. But I've actually had the time to cook before this. I mean, you couldn't catch it. My poor kid, I mean, I'm being very honest. We're some eating out people. So, I mean, we know everything about every restaurant, where we can get something to eat, what time takeout stops, we know it. And so now I'm able to cook. And so I've been cooking, and I don't know, cooking makes me feel good a little bit. I love cooking. I love posting what I cook. And, I wouldn't do like a whole session or anything online, but I do like to post what it looks like and getting started to doing it. So, I'm actually at this point running out of things to cook. So I'm like, what is new to cook? Because I'm not used to cooking. So those are two ways that I kind of unplug.
Nice. Are we going to see like a YouTube channel?
Yeah, no, not that good.
No. That kind of leads me to my next question. I think I saw a meme or something about, if you don't come out of this as a chef or, learning some new skill, then, you didn't lack time, you lack discipline. And I feel like that's a little bit unfair because people are obviously dealing with a lot. So everybody can't just retool and learn a new skill and become a chef like Monica. But wondering if anyone has learned anything new and if you want to share out on that, or what are some resources. I know you mentioned your Pinterest, Tamara, is making me think, wow, I haven't opened Pinterest in a minute. I should go back and see what I pinned years ago. But if you've learned anything new, if you've taken up something new, and then if there is a related resource, if somebody wants to know how they might get started.
I'll piggyback off of what the councilwoman said. Cooking has definitely been something that I'm getting better at. since this whole stay-at-home situation is going on, I've been afraid to order out. And so I've been making every single thing, right? Like if you look at my Instagram, I'm posting homemade sushi. I made some zucchini bread on Sunday.
Wow.
Right? I'm really trying. So that's one of the things that I think I've picked up during this time. And about the meme, right? Like, I don't think that necessarily you have to pick up anything, right? Like, if you're okay just being at home, getting your mental health together, being physically safe, that's okay too, right? We don't have to walk away with this better than when we came in. As long as you're safe physically, emotionally, and mentally, I think that's okay.
Amen to that.
Absolutely. I definitely I felt the same way, Linda, about that meme. You know, I'm real neutral about it. I feel like, you know, if you have the time or if you even want to take the time, like that's okay. So take the time like to do the things that you didn't have time for before, like how Jaren said, like now she's reading novels. But I think now is the time for us really to, for those of, I think it's safe for me to say a lot of you that are on here are type A or at least type A minus personalities, right? So like, you know, for us, it's hard to like not be running and like constantly doing things. And like, I'm always on the go. And I feel like my daughter's kind of inherited that. So she keeps me running around this house. But this time has been really important for me, really to focus on the things that I love the most. And so like that's my family, and also, you know, the things that I get to do that I'm passionate about. Like I spoke to a group of students at People's Prep Charter School just about like my personal experience and growing up. And, you know, that was 40 minutes out of my day. And the feedback that I got from those students, just from me taking out the time and being vulnerable and honest with them about like how I was able to persevere through life and still, you know, be able to define my own like measure of success and overcome obstacles, like they really appreciated that. So for me, like that's been like the most important thing. And I guess if anything I'm learning that's new, that's a new skill set, which Aisha, that was the main question, right? I would say I'm getting to be a pro at this Zoom thing. I got everybody from, you know, my job and Impact 100, you know, because I sit on that asking me to do the tech background piece. So
I'd hustle.
That's great.
Funny.
That's
So
great.
I'll jump into one thing I've been working on myself. So one thing I've been working on is being less opinionated. And
I would appreciate some tips there. If you could.
It's hard. It takes being very, very intentional. So I'm still gonna tell my truth. I think the meme is absurd. And it's disrespectful because like who is whoever this person is who created it to tell me what's important to me and what I should be doing. Like that's my first truth. And so you just don't know like what I have or what I don't have, whether it's lack of discipline or this, that, or the other. Maybe the one thing I needed in life was time to be still. And that is a fact. And that is what I've learned for I would say for at least 8 years, I had 2 full-time jobs. I always had, like I just posted an article on LinkedIn about having a strategic side hustles. There's stuff I've been doing for literally 20 years in addition to a full-time job. And so what I've learned right now is the value of peace and the beauty in being still. And how enlightening it can be, and but also I've been doing things that are important to me, things that help. Like if we're naturally blessed, I heard Dawn Hayes earlier sharing that, like, you know, there is an African proverb that when an elder passes, it's like a library closing down. And so I believe we all have something that's valuable that we can share. So I've been doing a number of talks. I do talks on different topics, sometimes related to sales, but I've been doing a lot with LinkedIn. I work there. And so even though it's not my job, I do know more about leveraging LinkedIn than probably the average person. And so I've done a number of talks for whether it's students or people who are having to transition, you know, their careers or pivot, or, you know, even with the Port Authority, like people who are looking for jobs. So just doing what I can to be useful in a way that's beyond myself. But at the same time, I'm not asking for money for that. So it's not a hustle, and it's not about discipline. It's about knowing who you are, being, I'll say, blessed with a little bit of extra time, and being true enough to yourself to do what you want to do with that time.
Actually, can I add that the meme just speaks to privilege, right? Like you can attest to this, like putting this summit together. A lot of people don't have internet access. A lot of people don't have computers. They don't have the opportunity to go online and sign up for a harvard.edu online course. And so I think that meme speaks to privilege, and we have to be aware of that when we're doing things, right? Like everybody is not privileged to certain things.
Mhm.
Hey,
Absolutely.
before I go, Linda, I'm sorry, First Lady, I want to just add to that. I do want to share a resource, and I don't know, Aisha, if there's an appropriate way to do it, but there are some free resources. It's not Harvard, but Trailhead is something that an organization called Salesforce offers. It's an opportunity to get reskilled. Trailhead. And then there's LinkedIn Learning, which can be accessed. I think there's a small fee for that, but Trailhead, I believe, is free. Either way, do what you can, but don't feel guilty though. And if there's people who need resources beyond that, I can certainly share whatever I have access to.
Great. Andrea, if you could add those to the chat, that'd be great.
The only thing I'd like to add is that with my daughters, it's doing the little things that kind of been my lesson learned. I've taught them the card game War. I don't think I've played that in like 3 decades. But you know, those little things, playing ball outside and, you know, dominoes, they are thrilled by it. And it's not the things that are on Pinterest or the things that take a lot of time and effort. It's the really small things. And what I realized at the end of the day, they don't care what the activity is, but when it's one-on-one time with them, it means so much more.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can agree more. And I think that helps pivot the next thing I want to talk about for those that have children at home that are of homeschooling age, just how you're managing that, or I guess carving out the time for the more kind of structured traditional learning, and then those more informal, less traditional learning moments and moments of togetherness that I think, at least for me professionally, I used to work 10, 11, sometimes 12-hour days. But being home is different because I'm still working, but you know, trying to balance and figure out the carve outs and those moments of opportunity. So one quick thing that I do to support, separate from homeschooling, but to support and still be present and engaged is, and you guys might see me put my phone on mute and go like this every now and then. So I'm telling y'all an inside secret. I'm telling all y'all inside secret right now. I don't shoo my kids away. I don't tell them no. I think it's dismissive. They are not being rude. They'll say, excuse me, they'll wait. But rather than, especially because I'm on Zooms like all day or on calls all day, I still want to make myself available. So I just muted my phone. I mean, the computer, and I'll be like this and I'll be talking to them. But I'm like, yes, that's a great idea. And I love that picture. Wow. Like, you know,
I love it.
I try to find ways to still be accessible, because it is weird now, because at least for me, I am home. So physically I'm here. So they feel like they should have way more access. Whereas if I was at work, it's like, okay, mom's at work until 6 or 7, going to events or whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to share out kind of one way that I try to be, ensure that I'm more present for the kids, and wondering if you guys can share that as well, and maybe some tips on homeschooling.
I have a kindergartner and a first grader, and we actually, for our school, we have live sessions daily for even the kindergartner from 8:30 to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's pretty intense for even that grade level. I am not a particular fan to it, but it does provide some kind of structure for them so that they know the daily ritual for, you know, after breakfast, this is what we have to do. We have a schedule from, you know, guided by the school of when we log on, what we do between classes. Again, personally, I'd rather it be a little bit more free form, but it's not. But I mean, this is also a great opportunity for us to talk about the worthiness of our teachers and how they need a raise, because if for anything, I've learned that that's not my forte. I'm glad I thought of homeschooling at one point, but no, you could take that. I will gladly pass this off with the quickness.
So,
I
like,
was gonna say, Aisha, you made me feel really bad because before we got started, my toddler was like running over here to drop kick my laptop, and I just like shoot, like, go, get away. So I feel kind of bad doing that. I'm gonna do better tomorrow. I promise.
One day at a time.
One day at a time, but she was about to like knock my whole laptop off of the table. It's really hard. I mean, the homeschooling is really hard. That's all I'm gonna say. I love the teachers. I love my kid teacher. I cannot wait until we can get back to school when it's safe and ready to go back. But I guess having a child that's in pre-K 3 who you're having to meet up Zoom every day, like they have a 30-minute meetup Zoom. Thank God it's only 30 minutes because all of the kids are just like, no, not today. Like it's constant meltdown. Some days are good. They're in good spirit. You know, they're wondering why they have to do it in the first place. So it's really difficult, to do 30 minutes with them online. However, like when this first started, I had went and got like all of these things we can do, different activities to try to do it and keep her, engaged and working and practicing on our letters and her name. And so we've been doing stuff like that. But, some days it's like, okay, you might get a little bit more Barbie time today versus yesterday, to be honest with you, because, she's young and they're still trying to get into the concept of school as it is when they were going every day. But I do try to keep her on her routine and her schedule because I feel like that's important for young people, especially when they're in the development stage of being 3 and 4 years old. So we still have breakfast, we have lunch at the same time, we have a little playtime, but I just, been trying to have more time with her because I am on Zooms all the time if I'm not outside. And so we have a thing where we have a movie time, we'll have dinner, she'll take a bath, we'll get ready for bed, and then we'll watch. She loves Descendants. I don't know why my 3-year-old loves Descendants 1, 2, and 3, but she likes to watch that. And so we'll watch it every day, or she tries to watch Barbie all the time as well. But like I said, homeschooling, it's just like Tamara said, not for me, not going to advocate. If it works for you, it works for you. To everybody who's watching, if you're getting it done, more power to you. But definitely for me, I'm looking forward to getting back to the normalness, even if that means social distancing and whatever else the CDC is going to recommend to get us back in school. So yes. definitely for me here.
Quickly and safely as possible. Tanisha, did you want to add anything?
Yeah. So, when everything first happened, I'm a big proponent of, I need to see it, right? So I have the white paper, the big white sticky paper on the wall. And the first thing I did was, all right, Renee's schedule goes up on the wall so she could see it too, And maybe after about 2 weeks, that schedule went out the window. We still do, like Councilwoman said, breakfast and lunch and whatnot, but she doesn't have to do the Zooms. Thank God her school doesn't make her do that. The teacher uses Class Dojo, and so she has like these different assignments and tasks that she has to complete each day. So I just make sure that either it gets done, and then sometimes it may not get done, and we'll do it the next day. But we've kind of, and I felt bad for this at first, we've kind of indulged her a little bit. So like I bought her a new bed. That was one of the first things we did. I heard someone say something about a trampoline, right? So we bought her the trampoline for indoors. We bought her this new bed. It's like a platform bed with a slide on it because like she can't do her normal things. And I just really felt so bad. And again, speaking from a place of privilege, we're able to, afford to be able to give her those things and to do those things. I know a lot of people aren't, but for me, that was just trying to create some normalcy for her, because she's completely taken out of her routine. And I think everyone's making a lot of decisions, but we're not factoring in like the kids and how kids' lives are at home. And that's been something that I've been harping on since this whole thing started. Like, who's really thinking about these kids and what's really going on at home for them and what that looks like? Because all of their situations, 9 times out of 10, they don't mirror ours. And so we got to think about that. Like, how can we, surround that community and help them be able to have more of what we have, or more of a normalcy of what they're used to. So, yeah. Oh, and my boss lets her, anytime we're on a Zoom, even national Zooms, like the Georgia State After School Network, the lead, her kids pop up on Zoom calls. Every week we're on calls, national Zooms. So kids are allowed in the after school world. We don't mind.
No, you could bring up a good point. I think early on, everybody was like hypersensitive about it, right? And then we started to really like accept that this is our new normal. We're all, for those of us that are able to work from home and are not frontline workers, essential workers, are not, risking their health and safety for our benefit. For those of us that are able to work from home, like, this is our new reality. So fortunately, I think people are a lot more understanding. I could tell my one of my colleagues was on a Zoom with me, and it was our full team meeting the other day, and she was trying to like keep her daughter at bay, and I could see she was struggling. So I texted her, I was like, just put the video on pause, deal with your daughter. Okay. She was like, oh my God, are you sure? I was like, yes, like, clearly you're struggling. And her daughter, I believe, is 3, toddler, like needing and wanting that attention at that moment, rather than trying to figure out how to navigate that for the rest of the 40 minutes. Like, you could pause for 2 or 3 minutes. And, so I think we're all really, really learning how to figure it out, and being a lot more forgiving and accepting with everything we're dealing with.
But I commend you for that, Aisha. And I feel like a lot more supervisors and employers, they need to be flexible and just have compassion and to allow that. Like, the most empowering thing that my boss said to us was, don't apologize. Like, she told us flat out on Zoom, like, don't apologize if your kid pops up on a Zoom. Because oftentimes as women, like, that's our first thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And so for you saying that to your employee, I'm sure she appreciated that more than she probably even told you.
Yeah, she did. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's important for everyone to hear that, our attendees, those of us that supervise other people or colleagues, because sometimes we even do that with colleagues, right? We're like, it's okay. This is what we're working within now. And I think we just have to be a lot more patient and forgiving with each other, right? This is not picture perfect. I'm thinking of the social media panel earlier. It's not just what you post. It doesn't all look glamorous. I love Linda moved the camera down and we saw the span. This is the reality. Sometimes we show what's top up, but the reality is lots of times I have on pajama bottoms or a kid here or a dog or something, right? So I think it's just important that we are authentic and honest with ourselves and how we put that to the public, because it'll allow people to just be a lot more comfortable, right? And if you're comfortable and honest, you can be more productive. I was teasing one of my staff once. He's like, you did training, you invested in us, you did this, we had coaching. I was like, my ulterior motive is to make you the best you, because then I get the best out of you, right? So that's the balance.
One of the things you asked about was having tips for homeschooling. And this is outside of the realm of the actual schooling. Is one thing I started with both the kindergarten and first grade was creating a little, if you know me, I'm all about creating your village and creating your mom tribe, is to have a group chat with a bunch of moms that are within those classes. And just when something happens within the class, or just doing check-ins every other week, just to check on how we're doing, right? We're in our bubbles in our homes and kind of secluded from everything else. Whereas when you're dropping off and picking up kids, you get to interact with other parents, and we don't have that luxury right now. And it's just kind of keeping that communication, one, for our kids just to keep their friendships, but also for our sanity, to make sure we're not like, did they just ask us to do that for a kindergarten class? Just kind of bouncing it off of each other. If you don't have that village, or if you don't have your mom tribe to be able to do that, then you're lost in that.
So thank you so much for bringing that up. That was one thing I wanted to push out to all of you too, just how you staying connected with your girls now, right? So how, for me, that's critically important, and I don't do it nearly enough. So wondering how you all are doing that.
Group chats, definitely, right? Like our mommy chats are so helpful. Thank you, everybody on this screen that's on my chat that helps me get through the day sometimes. Those group chats are really important. Zoom happy hours, I'm here for it. We have one coming up at 5:30. I'm ready for it. Those type of things kind of help me get through the day sometimes, right? Like just a little joke, or if someone sends you a meme, like, did you see that? Like, sis, I saw what she just did. Like those type of things are so helpful.
Yeah. And I would say too, making time for that. Like that's an appointment. So the family knows, and there was a question about like, how do you separate the time for like family time and other things? So my Zoom happy hours or meetups are meetings. Like mommy has a meeting at this time. So it's no less important than anything else, any other scheduled meeting that I have, because it's important, and trying to have the conversation sometimes is productive, sometimes it's not. So I literally schedule it like, look, I have a meeting at this time, period. So if Alterique isn't around to be with them, then they will get some screen time, and I'm okay with that. You know, like the screen time is not the worst thing in the world that a child can get. They're happy, they're rejoicing. It's a reward for me, you know, and some people say, oh, you shouldn't bribe your kid. But right now, I don't think there's any rules to how to do this. You know, I learn everything I can from the teachers, but also just making sure I'm taking care of myself by having that time with my girls, talking to my twin sister. I was cooking one time, dinner, and Alterique came in all happy because I don't cook dinner very much. He does. And I also had a glass of wine, and I was laughing and had to Zoom on. He was like, I already know. I was talking to my twin sister. I said, but you know what? At least I'm happy, and you're getting a meal being cooked, you know? So whatever you have to do, if that's the inspiration, because, okay, now I get to talk to my twin sister, and we're going to have our own happy hour and cook, and, you know, just whatever it takes. And even the other day, I was mad. People didn't tell me about the Issa Rae movie, The Photograph. Who knew? It was such a good movie, but it's
What? And we
very good. Yeah, it was very good.
Okay, it's called The Photograph by Issa Rae. I'm not like her publicist or anything, but I'm just saying, like, I folded all the clothes. I had to fold 5 loads of laundry to get that time to myself, but that's okay because I'm in the basement folding clothes. So essentially, I'm busy. And you know, so there's trade-offs with all this stuff, whether it's like school, whether it's like, you know, just getting the kids to do what's needed, or getting that time with your girls or with yourself. Elijah's coming to say hi, everybody. Come here, baby. Say hi, ladies.
So you brought up something quickly. Hey.
He wants to roar like T-Rex.
I love it. Can I hear you roar?
Roar. Give a big
There
roar.
we go.
And then after our first lady, thank you, Linda, for making it okay. Help me get to that place.
I love it. I don't want to so much of a diversion. I do want to stay on that, but you brought up something that hit home for me a little bit in terms of screen time. In my house, screen time is up significantly. I'm usually kind of militant with it. There's no electronics in my house before noon, which really just meant that my children learned how to tell time really early because all they did was stare at the clock until it turned. But screen time is up significantly. And so I'm wondering how you are finding the cadence of kind of homeschool and screen time, because so much is online for my 9-year-old, and he has to now log on at 9 a.m. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now you're just on in these videos and this, that, and the other. So screen time is up significantly. What I try to do to monitor it for the rest of the day, in the evening and on the weekend. So just some of my own tips. The kids just know they have an allotment of hours every day, and then they can spend it however they want. Right. So I see comments of, you know, tips and stuff. So I just wanted to share some of what I do. And I'm assuming that screen time is up in everybody's household. How are you balancing that? Is it like, you know what, this is the moment we're in right now, we'll come out on the other end, not such a big deal? Or are you being crazy obsessive like I am because it's through the roof?
We've taken away the tablet, especially like if we've seen changes in behavior. Like if she starts to act out more, like we've taken away the tablet, and we've focused in more on like outside experiences for her, like just doing more with her, more hands-on scientific projects. Like I'll just take a break if I can, or he'll take a break if he can, and just do just more with her hands-on. But again, that's when I've seen behavioral changes. I've been really lax as it pertains to like the screen time. But when that behavior start getting out of control, taking that tablet. But I did just want to go back really quickly to because I really want to hit on this point, like in terms of like your squad and how you staying connected with your squad. So for those of you who don't know, I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Beta Alpha Omega chapter here that services Newark and Hillside and Irvington. But we've done something where like we have sister circles. And so once a week, the sister circles, someone's calling in or checking in on everyone that's on their list for sister circle. And sometimes they're dropping off things for people. I dropped off a bottle of wine to, my sorority sister that is right around the corner and just left it on her front porch. We have a self-care group. Sora Brooke is in our chapter. She runs our self-care group. So she's always checking in with us. And that's Brooke Tippins from University Hospital. She's always checking in with us and making sure, that we are working out and whatnot. And so I've been trying to close my rings. You have an Apple Watch and competing with other people. And so that's been really helpful with me with my squad. And then lastly, I know Tamara, you're in New Madness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like Crystal, she's on here too in the attendee section, but she's been checking in with us and hosting virtual game nights and things like that. So I've just been really trying to, stay in tune with people virtually as much as I can through Zoom, birthday parties, and prayer circles with my family. Every Tuesday we got a stand-in prayer Zoom, and that's important. So I make time for those things.
I just want to say that I believe in screen time. I don't think you guys were shocked that I was going to say that. Okay, screen time.
Dr. Lynn would definitely.
So I'm not going to say that we have a limit on screen time, but I do agree that my daughter is going through like a phase. It seems like each year it's a different phase. And now at the end of 3 going into 4, she's just relaying behavior that we have to tighten up on. And so I have restricted Barbie, certain things that are on screen time. I'm like, yeah, you can't watch that. You can watch something else, but you can't watch that. And it seems like she acts out Barbie a lot, like a whole lot. Even when she's playing in her room with Barbie, she will like act out a scene from Barbie. It's like the weirdest thing because I never did that as a kid. And she does that all the time. And so it's like no more Barbie, no more just random videos on YouTube. You have to like monitor what they're watching. So, she's able to watch other things, but more so when we see like behavior that's just getting out of control, we're like, no more of that. But she does get screen time is definitely up for us. We're just a screen time kind of family. So, we don't have restrictions, but certain things we've just cut out. And the point of the last question about keeping up, I just wanted to comment on something that the First Lady said, which is the group chats, our keeping up with one another. It literally gets me through the day. I mean, sometimes I stop in the middle of what I'm doing and just texting, and someone will say, "You're always on your phone." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm texting right now to my friends. We're talking about something really important in the group chat," and I'll just stop what I'm doing and do that because you need that time. And so for all of my friends who are tuned in, to the First Lady, thank you for, just keeping me afloat and having some type of normalness during this time especially.
Thank you. No, that resonates. So somebody brought up earlier, maybe it was Jaren, that she thinks maybe most of us are A-types, or maybe it was you, Tanisha. So, when I think back about how we are now, how I am now, it does make me think about this kind of typical and a little bit cheesy question of, if you could give your younger self advice, like, so if you are really confident in your space now, or if you would really change anything along the way and give your younger self advice that might allow you to show up differently, what might that look like?
First, I turned 40 I'll be 41 in July, but I've been through a whole bunch of like, introspection and et cetera. And this situation has helped with just having that time. But what I would simply say is that it's okay. I used to stress out about a lot of things, and I was so intense, and it helped me. I've had success in the roles that I've held in part due to that intensity, but I think there is an opportunity to relax a bit more so that you can live a bit more, but also allow space for creativity and curiosity. I used to think, and I'm learning that from you, Tamara, just like seeing the things that you do, and I'm like, gosh, I should just, woosah and do that, and so we're doing more of that, like planting things and all of that, and just, and I see it in my work. Like I said, I work for LinkedIn, parent company is Microsoft, and what I see being valued, we used to think, oh, okay, it's just STEM, and oh, my kids got to be engineers. They don't. What we're seeing is that the most sought after skill set is curiosity. They describe it as intellectual curiosity, but not because you're able to memorize and regurgitate all these facts, and you can, you scored, whatever, 1,500 on your SATs. Like, all that's fine and good, but with the speed of technology, as well as the speed of unexpected, in this case, crises or problems that need solutions, take some time to slow down, to think, to be curious, and to explore. That's where the answers usually come from. That's what I'm saying.
I'll go next. For me, it's about taking care of yourself. I feel like we can't be good enough. We can't be good parents if we aren't taking care of ourselves.
Right.
And I think for the majority of my being a mother until the last year, I put myself at the bottom of the list. And I think it took a toll on me personally. But another aspect of it is also being okay and being vulnerable and sharing that we are not okay, that life is hard, that we're not in a good place. I mean, we can't be there for one another if we don't know that about each other, right? And so one thing that has got me through the tough time is my village. And had they not known, and for most part they didn't know of my valleys, is that they couldn't be there for me when I needed them, right? And so for me, it was just like being okay with my vulnerability, being okay with that I wasn't okay, that I'm not okay, and that my friends are there for a reason to support me and to take, and to take on the roles that I needed. And I think especially in this time and age, in what we're going through, is just to say, hey, I need help. It's so hard, especially as women of color, to say I need help. I need, to go to a therapist. I still go to my therapist even through this, every other week I still see her. It's what I need for clarity, and it's what I need to keep myself sane.
Good for you.
I agree, hands down. And saying that we're not okay when we're not, and then seeking out the resources. And I think letting our sister friends know that too, right, is really critical. It's sometimes hard for us. There's stigma in our communities about seeking out therapy, which there should not be. Sometimes we don't want to outwardly vent or publicly vent, but your sister friends are your sister friends for a reason. And so they would love to know what you're going through in order to be there for you. So thank you for sharing that, Tamara. Councilwoman or First Lady, any advice to your younger self?
I guess for me, I would tell my younger self a lot, but I mean, for the time limit on our session, I think for me, what I try to tell a lot of young girls now, or young women per se, is that having a bad attitude or a nasty attitude does not reflect strength. And for me, growing up as a young woman, I thought that having a bad attitude, having a nasty attitude reflects strength for me, and it made it seem like I was strong and, you know, don't mess with me kind of attitude. I'm talking, you know, young up until maybe 25, I got that, where, you know, that wasn't naturally what I should be doing. You know, that didn't mean that I was strong. You can be pleasant, you can have a nice attitude and still be strong. And so for me, you know, your attitude doesn't reflect, a nasty attitude doesn't reflect strength, shall I say. Also too, for me, my younger self, I would have told myself to explore more. It's something what I think Tamara discussed about exploring and having more self-care for yourself, taking care of yourself. I feel like we do not take care of ourselves enough. And even to this point, to this day, I'm still struggling, as I mentioned earlier, about how do I really take care of myself? What do I do for myself? How do you power down to do that? And I just think that a lot of women do not take, you know, that into consideration to take care of themselves. And because many women don't know what self-care really looks like most of the time, you know. And so, you know, when I speak to some women sometimes, I'm like, yeah, you need to have some self-care, you know. And women, when they tell me what that self-care is, I'm like, no, that's not self-care. Like, that's not what I'm talking about, you know. And so I just think we have to spend more time, even through maybe this platform, you know, trying to explain to women or show them what self-care is. They didn't see their mothers do it. They didn't see their grandmothers do it. You know, colored women in general sometimes have just been working hard all of their lives, like caring for their children, their husband, and the whole family, right? Grandma has taken care of the whole family. And so when you grow up and that's all you see, then you don't really know sometimes how to really take care of yourself and just power down and have self-care. So I just feel like we need to do more of that in our community, because women are the backbone to our communities here, especially here in the city of Newark. And so we need for you to be well taken care of, and for you to take care of yourself, because then that means you're taking care of your babies, your families, and the communities.
Aisha, my advice to my younger self would just be more confident in your ability and your skills. That would definitely be my advice to my younger self.
And my advice for my younger self would be two things. One, not to be ashamed of my past, and knowing that like everything that I've gone through, you know, has only pushed me more towards my purpose, and not being afraid to tell those stories. You know, because for so long I was so ashamed of everything that I had gone through or everything that I had experienced. And not realizing that people needed to hear those stories and be able to see that I was able to, you know, persevere, and that I was able to, you know, push through. And then the other thing that I would just tell myself is to forget everyone else's opinions about what success looks like, how you know, everything is supposed to look when you grow up, you know, your timelines, if you will, and just know that God works everything out on, you know, his timing. And just because it's not happening for you right now doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you. And so don't rush that. Don't rush God's timing. And that would be my advice for my younger self.
Amen to that. So we are slowly wrapping up. We have about 5 more minutes. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pose them in the chat room. We're getting more comments and like you know, affirmations and questions. The chat is being well received.
Aisha, I got tagged in a question just now, if it's okay. So Ms. Kettles asked about, I don't have the exact question in front of me, but it was about balancing career, keeping the children creatively engaged, as well as sharing it all on social media. So I'll speak to that, because my husband is very, very active on social media. Sometimes we'll have conversations on social media that we're not having at home. And I used to be upset by that. Like, you can't come to me. No, no, no. And what I've learned is that it is a good thing that people communicate at all. And rather than me trying to create and control how he communicates, just being pleased, being happy and accepting that he does. And I also recognize, like, Aisha, you called out just appreciating the First Lady for showing kind of like what's going on behind the scenes. You know, particularly I'll say more so with Instagram, we always show like the glamorous side, and you know, you'll see people who take 50 trillion selfies trying to get the perfect shot. And I'm like, in my circle of friends on group text, one of the ones who was married for a while and you know, chose a different path, she said, why didn't anybody tell me? Why didn't y'all tell me? And so for me, I'm okay with like the whole truth being just what it is, because that's what it is. And so, you know, I do enjoy my career. I'm focused on it, and you know, it's meaningful to me, the work that I do. I also, as a top priority, my family, my children. That's why I do it. I want to create an example and a life with opportunities for them. But also, it's not always glamorous. Like I went and got my little face done up and stuff for y'all for this, but I even had to use some mascara to color my grays in. But you know what though? It's important to know. And there's this ugly, horrific picture when the children, they were giving me some self-care. So they were helping mommy since I can't get a pedicure, before I discovered the pedicure in the bag. Oh my gosh, if y'all haven't found that.
Wait, what? Do we need to drop
What's that?
Drop the link. Drop the link.
I got excited. So there's this thing called a pedicure in a bag. I forget exactly what it's called. I'll find it, try to put it in here, but it's on Amazon and it works over time. But anyway, before I had discovered that, they were giving me a hard time about my feet. I'm from Mississippi, you know, I got these feet and they are just not my strength. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. And so even my best friend, my loving girlfriend, Samaya, like commented on this picture, was like, was this approved? And my response to her was that no, but I don't have the energy to complain, or I don't have the energy to care or complain. But the truth was that it is the truth, you know? And so the stuff that we deal with at home, and Tariq being on, you know, live all the time, that's just, it's what it is. I might be looking crazy, or it's what it is. And so I think we do each other a disservice by pretending that life is anything other than what it very much is. So that's really it. Ms. Kettles, who asked about balancing it all, I just live my life and I'm okay with it. Because to your point, Tanisha, like I'm not on anybody's time schedule. I don't live by other people's rules. I'm okay with you living your life and being who and how you are. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to cheer you on. I'm going to be just fine where I am. So that's really it. Just being very comfortable in your skin. And so he can share it if he wants. If not, that's fine too. You know, there you go. I hope that helps.
Thanks. So we have one more minute. We're going to do maybe a little bit over a minute. We're going to do a speed round of what you're really looking forward to once we open back up, knowing that this is going to be phased. We're going to do this slowly and safely. What's something that you're really looking forward to once we're through this, fully through this pandemic?
I would just say like connecting with my family in person physically. That's probably the one thing that I miss the most.
Give me all the restaurant food, all of it. I do not want to cook again.
Ditto.
I would say, similar to you, First Lady, I would say time with my family, but specifically traveling the world with my twin sister, because we're close, and I miss her. And I'm an in-your-face type, so I need to be close and under the sun somewhere.
And I guess I would say just, first of all, thank you, First Lady, for this opportunity. But y'all know this is what I love to do, convening people. So I miss doing this. I wish we could have did this in person with a laugh and a kiki and a glass of wine. And definitely like vacationing with my family.
Yeah, vacation.
Yes.
So I'm going to be really quickly because I have two. One, I'm looking forward to, getting back with my family and, of course, vacationing. I never wanted to vacation so much before this time. And so I just want to go so many places and see so much. So definitely that. And lastly, which I feel like is my responsibility to do, is just to see our city continue to go forward. We're going forward, but we had a lot of great things that were going on in our city before this happened. And I'm looking forward to us picking that back up and running with it. and doing the great things that we're doing here in the city. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I just want to thank our First Lady and Aisha and everybody for allowing me to be on the panel today. And I've been on since 9:30 a.m. I was a little late, but I listened to each panel, and I was even texting First Lady throughout the day about it. And it was really amazing. So thank you for everybody who helped put this together, the whole committee. It was great. And we need more of this, more, once a month, sometimes once a week, but once a month we'll take to do this again. So thank you. And it's been an honor to be with you ladies today.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Are we going to get that, First Lady? Sister Talk monthly?
Y'all better ask Aisha, and I'm so glad that everybody keeps saying First Lady, but I have to recognize our entire Jua is not
Yes, Jua.
Yes, Jua.
Hey, Jua.
Shouting him out. He's shouting out the team.
Definitely a team effort. Definitely Aisha, Linnell, our graphic designer. Please, thank you so much. Alexis, Andrea, Dawn, Stacy, Lakeisha, Natasha, Janice Kettles, everybody that was a part of this. Everybody keeps saying First Lady, but it was everybody. Honestly, all of us put a lot of work into making this happen. This day was just phenomenal. I'm surprised by myself. I didn't think I was going to be on all day long, but I literally was on from Jennifer, and I'm going to be on for the next session as well. And me and Jua too. Jua been here all day.
Jua is hanging tough. Well, thank you.
Aisha, I'm not sure if we're going to have this again. You got to ask Aisha.
Come on, Aisha.
We'll help you.
Yes, in partnership with My Sister's Keeper, the Women's Commission, Shani Baraka Center, the Women's Leadership Meetings, we can and should be doing things far more frequently. There is a family meeting tomorrow, which is the combination of the men's and women's meeting, but we'll be trying to create more of these spaces for kind of girl talk and connection. I think the key also is sharing some tips and advice and resources. So as much as it is great and we should continue to bond, I think people are also wanting to know how we do it and how others are doing it, so that way they can really incorporate it in their own lives. So I genuinely appreciate everybody being authentic, candid, transparent today. I think it was definitely the tone that was needed. We're all going through a lot personally and professionally. Nobody has it all together. There is no formula. There is no exact science. Things drop off. Things slip through the cracks, and at different points, different things get priority, whether it's ourselves, our homes, our families, our partners, or our work. And I think it was just important for other women to hear that that's okay. And it's also okay to reach out and to let other people know. But nobody is Superwoman. Sometimes you may have seen me on Zoom. Today, my mug says blessed. It's usually a Superwoman mug, a Wonder Woman mug, purposefully, because sometimes I'm straight struggling and I'll sit. So that's my own inside joke to myself and to all of you. But I just think it was important for us all to just share our stories. So I want to thank you all again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we have a 6-minute interlude and break before Linnell, who has held on all day with us behind the scenes, where he starts to transition some of the existing panelists over and bring on DJ Marcy DePina and Adley. So we will get our happy hour on and some music on in 6 minutes. If you want to get up, stretch, take a quick bio break. And then for those of you that did buy some of the ingredients in advance, so if you saw on the Eventbrite page, she is making a drink. If you do have some of your ingredients for the cocktail, great. If not, don't worry, just grab whatever. We're gonna enjoy some good music and close out the night together. But thank you all.